Okay, so now let's talk about social fear. And I want you to pause the video a second and think, how do you react when you feel threatened in a specific social situation? In order for you to answer that question with 100% clarity, it's important for you to understand what social fear. Social fear is when we are afraid about not pleasing people or not fitting in. The social embarrassment in front of others, even worse when it's someone we want to impress. So this could be feelings of being judged, not being liked, not meeting anyone we like, being rejected, being left out, fear of being misunderstood, being perceived as boring, saying something funny and anybody laughing, being weird, being out of control, being forgotten, being different, being criticized, or being laughed at. The important piece of this section is to understand our reactions when we are feeling fear in a social situation. Usually, it is invisible to us unless we self reflect and analyze our own feelings. I am in a bad mood because I am afraid of being rejected, said no one ever, right? So it's very important that we make this self assessment to understand ourselves better. When we feel social fear, we may have different reactions. We may turn into people pleasers, we may turn bossy, defensive, awkward, boring, critical, needy, narcissist. We may go into denial. We may seek compliments, being selfish or dramatic. So now that we understand the theory, let's discuss about the four main category reactions that we may have according to the book Captivate from Vanessa Van Edwards. She explains that there are four different categories that we may fall into. We may be downers, show-ups, passives, or tanks. So when we are a downer, it means that we tend to be very negative and always complaining, extremely pessimist. And the difficulty of dealing with people like that is that it's impossible to please them. And they usually have this reaction because they have a fear of being rejected. So they reject everyone first prior feeling rejected. Then we have the people who brag. They act like they are better than everyone else, like if they know it all. And the difficulty is that they are very narcissist. They have this reaction typically because they have a fear of being forgotten or undervalued, and they need to prove their value out there. Then we have passives. They tend to be very quiet and they do not contribute. They never ask questions, and the difficulty is that they tend to be invisible. They do not contribute, so we do not know what they are thinking about. And they are having this reaction because they have a fear of being criticized. They do not participate to avoid being judged. Then we have the tanks. This is a people who is very explosive, bossy, dramatic, and they tend to be overly emotional. They tend to be very dramatic, overreactive, and this is usually because they have a fear of not having control and being forgotten. That's why they are seeking for that type of attention. Okay, so key takeaways of social fears. When we control our emotions, we're better at influencing and communicating. It allows us to handle complex emotions. So whenever we're having these complex emotions, like any of these type of social fears, we're dealing with a lot of complex emotions and we may react either logically or emotionally. So understanding what is your category allows you to react logically by understanding your emotional default reaction. So, how to choose, how to react, being aware of the chemical reaction that is going on inside of us allow us to regain control after a lot of practice. And then a very cool tip is that we can leverage on the yin yang situation. So if a person is acting overly emotional, the others try to calm this person down. So there is a very cool trick that we always try to balance each other. So whenever you are interacting with someone professionally who is getting very angry and they are complaining a lot, so you match them, right? So if you match them and you get crazy with them, like, yes, this is unacceptable, I cannot believe it. If they see that you are overreacting, what is going to happen is that they're going to calm down. Yes, don't worry. It's not such a big deal. So the hack is if we deliberately mirror the craziness of the other person, they're going to calm down because if you get crazy, I will calm you down. If I get crazy, you will calm me down. We're always looking for that balance. Okay, something that is very important is that whenever you're dealing with difficult people or people who is very upset for something that happened, you want to make sure that you're listening them, understanding, stepping on their shoes, validating their emotions, showing empathy, and not jumping into conclusions and solutions right away because they may not be ready. They may need to bend first prior looking for a solution. So it's very important for us to validate their feelings so they can feel they can trust us. So let's see an example. Dealing with people going through difficult emotions. Let's imagine that your manager is really frustrated. So she was asked by her boss about something important and she had no idea what was going on. Okay. So the first thing that happens is that your manager asks you, "Hey, Ruth, why did you complain directly to my boss instead of discussing it with me first?" And you said, "So, I don't know, he asked me directly. I just said the truth. I just responded to him what he was asking me for." So your manager is really mad. "You should have told me immediately after discussing it with him." And you just keep justifying yourself. I got a lot of things to do. I did not know it was relevant, whatever it is, right? So your manager gets even angrier. Nonetheless, we must improve our communication. You should have told me in our one-on-one. So you apologize confused and embarrassed. And then what happens? She left the meeting upset, asking you to send the minutes of the communication protocol you just agreed, and a lack of trust starts to build up. Okay, so let's see an alternative of this situation. How could we manage this better? So it's the same story again. Your manager come and say, "Why did you complain directly to my manager instead of discussing it with me?" And this time you reply, "He asked me directly. I should have come directly after to update you. I am sorry, I got distracted." Yes, you should have told me immediately after discussing it with him because blah, 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 blah. You validate, you say, "You're 100% right." So then you agreed going forward. I will make sure to update you on our one-on-ones and send you an email to update you on any relevant escalation. So what are their emotions? She felt heard, validated, understood, and aligned, and her experience is 100% different. Now, this situation brings you closer.